Hey y'all, I am back with another healthy 5-day meal prep, and this week's menu is all about saving time in the kitchen with super easy and simple meals because, well, your girl is heavily pregnant right now and I'm just not trying to be on my feet for too long. But at the same time, even though I am focusing on meals that you can whip up very quickly, it's still very important to make sure that we're getting in lots of nutrient-dense foods, fresh vegetables, and meeting our protein goals. And you should be able to put together this entire menu in about an hour to an hour and a half because all of these meals are super easy to whip up. On this week's meal prep menu, we're making my overnight protein oats in 2 different flavors, peach cobbler and chocolate banana. Lunch is this super easy creamy salmon salad, which is packed with protein and omega-3 fatty acids. For dinner, we're having these loaded burrito protein bowls, and they are so full of flavor and super filling. And then for our snacks this week, I wanted to focus on getting in lots of fiber, so we're making these fresh veggie snack bowls with my homemade Greek yogurt ranch dressing. Now, I do want to mention that this menu is high protein, gluten-free, macro-friendly, and lower in calories, so it's going to be great for those of you who are trying to lose weight. However, if you're pregnant like me, or maybe you're trying to gain weight, you'll want to condense these meals down into about a 3 to 4 day time span, and that way you're getting in more calories per day. And of course, I've listed the full macro count for each recipe over on the dedicated blog post, where you can also print out the full menu for this week's meal prep. I'm going to have that linked for y'all in the description box below. And as with all of my 5-day meal preps, I've also created a free downloadable grocery shopping list for this week's menu, just to make your life easier. So I'm gonna have that linked below for y'all as well. But anyway, I'm ready to start meal prepping, so let's head to the kitchen and get started. For the overnight protein oats, we're making 2 different flavors. I'm making 3 peach cobblers and 2 peanut butter chocolate banana, and both of them are super delicious. You'll want to start with the base overnight oats recipe, which is half a cup of old-fashioned rolled oats, and I'm just adding it directly to the meal prep containers to eliminate any extra dirty dishes. Then add 1 tablespoon of chia seeds to each container. This not only helps to thicken up the texture of the overnight oats, but it's also a great way to sneak in extra fiber, fats, and nutrients. And to sweeten it, I'm adding in half a teaspoon of pure maple syrup. But if you like it to be a little bit sweeter, like my husband, go ahead and add a tablespoon to each container. Next, add a 1/4 cup of plain Greek yogurt. You can substitute this with dairy-free yogurt if you have a sensitivity or you want to keep it vegan friendly. But I like to add the Greek yogurt because it does give it that extra boost of protein. And to boost the protein even more, add in 1 scoop of your favorite healthy protein powder. I've been loving the Paleo Valley bone broth protein, so that's what I'm adding today, but any type of protein powder works. But adding in the protein powder is going to help to keep you fuller for longer and make this breakfast more of a well-rounded, macro-friendly meal. Let's add a pinch of sea salt. And then into each container, add in 2/3 cup of any type of milk. I'm using unsweetened almond milk today, but I also like to use cashew milk or coconut milk. Both of those are super delicious as well. And that is the base recipe for overnight protein oats. Now we're gonna make it a peach cobbler flavor by adding in some extra spices and toppings, starting with half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg. Let's give it a good mix until everything is fully combined. Then I'm gonna let it thicken up a bit in the fridge for a few hours. You can even let it sit overnight before adding the toppings. All right, now let's prep the peanut butter chocolate banana flavor, which is one of my all-time favorites. If you're a chocolate lover, you're gonna love this one. You'll wanna start by making the base overnight protein oats recipe, just like I showed you earlier. And don't worry, you don't have to memorize this. I have everything listed over on the recipe card on the blog post, so you can either screenshot it or print it off. Once you've added all the base ingredients, add in 1 tablespoon of cacao or cocoa powder to each container. Mix it up until it's fully combined. And you can go ahead and add the peanut butter into the mixture now, but personally, I like to add it as a topping. Either way, I promise you, it's gonna turn out delicious. All right, let's place these in the fridge to let them thicken up as well. And while we're waiting on those to thicken up, we can start prepping our lunch. Lunch is this classic creamy salmon salad. Now, normally I'd make this salad with freshly baked salmon, but this week we're all about saving time in the kitchen, and the goal is to make this entire meal prep menu in about an hour, so I'm going to be using canned salmon today. But we're not skipping on quality, especially since I'm pregnant. Safe Catch has been my go-to brand lately because they test for mercury levels and they're wild caught. You're going to need 5 cans of salmon, which is about 25 ounces worth, and make sure you drain all the liquid first. And just because we're not using fresh salmon doesn't mean we can't spruce it up with some herbs and vegetables, so that way it still tastes really fresh and full of flavor. So I'm chopping up 3 stalks of celery. The celery is going to add in some extra fiber and minerals while also giving it that crunch factor, along with 1/3 cup of chopped red onion. Now if you're not a fan of onions, you can substitute it with chopped cucumber, bell pepper, or even chopped carrots. And the best herb to pair with salmon salad, in my opinion, is fresh dill. So I'm finally chopping up about 3 tablespoons worth. Dill is packed with flavonoids, which are plant compounds that have been associated with reducing inflammation and reducing your risk of things like heart disease. It also contains a good amount of vitamin A, vitamin C, folate, and plant-based iron. For more added flavor, I'm also adding in 3 to 4 tablespoons of chopped green onion, along with the zest from half of a large lemon and 1 to 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, depending on how tangy you want it to be. Now this next ingredient is optional, but I love adding in some capers to my salmon salad, so I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon's worth. Of course, this is optional, but it gives it sort of an extra salty, tangy, briny flavor, which I love in salmon salads. And for the sauce, let's go in with 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, 1/3 cup of avocado mayonnaise. I'm going to use the Chosen Foods brand today to speed things up, but I do have a delicious homemade avocado mayonnaise recipe if you want to make it from scratch. I'll link that recipe for y'all below. And to cut back on the calories a little bit and boost the protein content, instead of adding in extra mayonnaise, I'm going to add in 1/3 cup of plain Greek yogurt. Don't forget to season it with some sea salt and pepper. Then give it a good mix until everything is fully combined. And this recipe will actually stay good for up to 5 days in the fridge, so it's perfect for meal prepping. As y'all know, I like to go ahead and pre-portion out my meals, so that way it's easy to grab and go during the day. So I've roughly divided the salmon salad mixture into 5 equal parts, and I'm just adding it to my glass meal prep containers on top of a bed of lettuce to get in some extra fiber. And then on the side, I'm adding in some celery sticks and a boiled egg to get in even more protein and nutrients. And just that fast, lunch meal prep is done. This creamy salmon salad is so easy to whip up. It's full of flavor and nutrients, and it's perfect if you're looking for lunch meal prep recipes that don't need to be reheated. Okay, now that our overnight protein oats have thickened up a little bit, I'm going to pull those out of the fridge and add our toppings. For the peach cobbler, I'm adding some fresh peach slices. Now, of course, you can wait and add the toppings whenever you're ready to eat it, or you can add them in advance to save even more time like I'm doing here. A dollop of Greek yogurt, some extra cinnamon, and about a tablespoon of chopped pecans into each container to give it that extra crunch. And these are ready to go back in the fridge. For the peanut butter chocolate banana overnight oats, I'm going to add some fresh banana slices, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter into each container. Again, you can stir the peanut butter into the overnight oats, or you can add it as a topping like I'm doing here. I'm also going to add a tablespoon of chocolate chips into each container and a sprinkle of extra cinnamon. And breakfast meal prep is fully done. These overnight protein oats are not only a super delicious treat in the mornings, but they're also going to keep you full for hours because they're packed with a good balance of healthy fats, carbs, and protein. Alright, let's get started on these loaded burrito protein bowls for dinner. With this recipe, it's all about prepping the individual layers and then putting it all together at the end. So I'm going to get the rice started first, and I'm just giving it a good rinse and then adding it to my rice cooker. I'm only using half a cup of dried rice because I will be adding some cauliflower rice to the mixture once it's done to sort of bulk it up and get in extra fiber and vegetables, so it's going to be more of a 50-50 regular rice, cauliflower rice blend. Once you have the rice going, let's get started on sauteing the bell peppers and onions. You'll need 3 to 4 bell peppers depending on how big they are. Make sure you remove all the seeds and then slice them into thin strips. And then I'm going to do the same with half of a red onion, just slicing it into thin strips. Once they're all sliced up, we can begin sauteing them. In a large skillet over medium heat, add in 1 teaspoon of avocado oil, along with the sliced bell peppers and onions. Toss it around to make sure it's coated with the oil. I like to add a lid to help them saute faster, but you're just going to continue to cook these until they're easy to pierce with a fork. And while those are sauteing, I'm going to go ahead and slice up the plantain. With plantains, keep in mind that the more green it is, the less sweet it'll be. Personally, I like it when they're a little bit more yellow and on the sweeter side, but they're still delicious even when they're not sweet. Remove the peel and then slice slice them to about 1/2 inch thickness. You're gonna need 1 plantain. Going back to the bell peppers and onions, once they're done, add in some taco seasoning to taste. I'm gonna use my homemade taco seasoning. I will link that recipe for y'all below, but any type of taco seasoning works. I ended up adding about a teaspoon's worth. Now keep in mind, if your taco seasoning doesn't have salt in it, you'll wanna make sure to add some sea salt as well. All right, let's give it a good mix and let it saute a few more minutes to soak up all those seasonings, and then remove it from the pan. In that same pan, add another teaspoon of avocado oil along with the plantain slices, and just let those cook on each side until they're golden in color and easy to pierce with a fork. If you've never tried plantains before, they're a huge staple in many cultures across the world, including the Caribbean, Africa, South America, and they're actually really good for you. They're super nutritious, high in fiber and antioxidants, and just a different way to get in some healthy carbs. And by the way, I did lightly season them on each side with some sea salt and pepper. Once those are done, you can remove them from the pan and set them aside. And in that same pan, I'm adding in a 12-ounce bag of pre-riced cauliflower that I've already let defrost in the fridge overnight. And we're just gonna let that saute until it's soft and golden in color. By now, the rice should be done, so we're gonna add it to the pan with the sauteed cauliflower. And by the way, I love mixing regular rice with cauliflower rice because it really helps to bulk it up and it makes it feel like you're eating a lot more calories than you really are. And it's also just a good way to get in extra vegetables and fiber. I'm gonna make it a cilantro lime mixture today since it is a burrito bowl. So I'm adding the zest of 1 lime along with the juice from that same lime. Of course, you can add more lime juice if you want to, as well as some chopped cilantro, sea salt, and pepper to taste. Give it a good mix and let that saute a few more minutes. All right, now that the cilantro lime rice mixture is done, the last thing we need to do is cook up the meat. So I'm adding 1.5 pounds of ground turkey to that same skillet. And I love that pretty much everything is cooked in this one skillet, so it makes for super easy cleanup. And you're just gonna cook that until it's fully browned. Now, if you're pregnant like me and you really wanna get your iron intake up, you can also use ground beef with this, or you could even do a 50-50 blend of ground beef and ground turkey. Ground chicken works good as well. Once it's done, add in 3 tablespoons of your favorite taco seasoning. Again, remember, if your seasoning doesn't have salt, you'll wanna make sure you add the sea salt as well. Usually about a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half is good. And at this point, I also like to add in a splash of water just to make sure that the meat doesn't get too dry. Mix it up really well and then let it cook for a few more minutes so that way it can really absorb all those delicious spices. And now it's time to assemble our meal prep containers. I'm gonna stack it in layers, starting with the cilantro lime rice mixture. I find that putting it in layers helps everything to stay fresher for longer, and then whenever I'm ready to eat it, I'll mix everything together. I've already rinsed and drained some corn, and I'm gonna add 1/3 cup to each container. Let's add the meat mixture next. And I just roughly divide the mixture into 5 equal parts. I'm also adding 1/4 cup of black beans into each container that I've already drained and rinsed. Next, let's add the sauteed bell peppers and onions, along with your favorite salsa. And I'm adding 1/3 cup of the salsa to each container because this is gonna act as our dressing whenever we mix everything up before eating it. Top it off with the plantain slices, and dinner is done. Now you can totally add an extra dressing or sauce to this. Sometimes I'll add the Primal Kitchen avocado lime sauce, which is super delicious by the way, but this is completely optional. These loaded burrito protein bowls are gonna have you looking forward to dinner every single night. Not only are they super delicious and full of flavor, but they're also packed with protein, nutrients, and fiber. And the last thing we need to do is prep our snack for the week. I'm keeping it super simple and healthy with these raw veggie bowls served with my homemade Greek yogurt ranch dressing. Of course, you can speed things up even more if you use a store-bought ranch dressing, but nothing beats a homemade ranch to me. All right, to make the ranch into a bowl, add 1/2 cup of avocado mayonnaise, 1/2 cup of plain Greek yogurt or dairy-free yogurt, 1 teaspoon each of dried dill and garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon each of dried chives, parsley, and onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, a pinch of sea salt, and 1 to 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, depending on how tangy you like it to be. Give it a good mix until everything is fully combined. And then I like to add in about a tablespoon or 2 of water just to thin out the consistency a little bit because it is pretty thick. Let's go ahead and transfer the ranch to our sauce cups so that way they'll already be pre-portioned out. I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of the ranch to each container. Again, the macros for all of these measurements are listed on the blog post. Set those aside and let's quickly prep our veggies. Now, of course, you can use whatever vegetables you prefer for these snack bowls, but I'm gonna go with broccoli, bell pepper slices, carrots, and cherry tomatoes because all of those are so good with the ranch dressing. And I just wanna say that washing, chopping, and prepping my produce in advance really does make a huge difference with how many raw fruits and vegetables I eat throughout the week. I feel like when they're already washed, prepped, and ready to be eaten, I'm just more likely to reach for them, and then when paired with a delicious homemade dressing like this ranch, it just makes me want to snack on them even more. And it just makes me feel better knowing that I'm getting in a ton of fiber to help keep me regular, and lots of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, enzymes, and phytonutrients that are going to help to boost my overall health and wellness. So I highly encourage you to prep your produce at the beginning of the week, and you can even pre-portion them out into snack bowls like I'm doing, but it really does make a huge difference. To assemble these veggie snack bowls, I like to add the sauce cup first, and then I sort of pack everything around that. But the key here in terms of freshness is to make sure that all of your produce is fully dry before you add it to the containers. And the fastest and easiest way to do that is with a salad spinner. But our veggie snack bowls are done, which means we are completely done with our 5-day meal prep. We have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and our snack bowls prepped and ready to go. This is going to save you so much time in the kitchen throughout the week, while also ensuring that you stay on track with your healthy eating. Well, all right, y'all, that is it for today's video. Another healthy 5-day meal prep menu, and I can't wait to hear your feedback on all the recipes. Don't forget, after you give this menu a try, come back, comment on this video, and let me know how you liked it. Also, don't forget, you can print off the full menu, calculate the macros, and download the free grocery shopping list over on the blog post, and I'm gonna have that linked for y'all in the description box below. If you give any of my meal preps a try, you can tag me over on Instagram, and I will reshare that on my stories. But anyway, that's it for today, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.